All right, welcome, and thank you everybody for joining us. Today we have a presentation by Christine Ditzler, Brian Shuck, and Darcy Del Bosque. The presentation is called How to Enhance Your Online Course with Media. And without any further ado, I will turn it over to Chris Ditzler.
Great, thank you, Gary. As Gary said, we're joined by Brian and Darcy, and they're both from the UNLV library, and they deal with the emerging technologies and new media. So they have some really exciting stuff to show us today. To start out, let's talk about media a little bit. There we go. I would like to introduce our moderator as well, who is Gary Gates. He is our 3D instructional artist, and he is wonderful with WebEx, and he helps out every time I have a webinar, so thank you, Gary. And let's talk a little bit about our agenda. First, we're going to have the introductions, which we just did, actually. We should open up with this, I'm sorry. I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about why media is important and what the research says. And then after that, we're going to get into Brian and Darcy's part about the media that we have here at UNLV. We have some really exciting stuff, and Brian and Darcy will talk about the services that are available to you for your classes, and these include online and face-to-face classes, so of course we're focused on online today as we are hosting this. Why is media important? Media brings new elements into your content. Sometimes there's a part of the content that is very hard for students to wrap their brains around. And you can bring in media, you can bring in movie clips, you can bring in imagery, you can bring in infographics, for example, that really break down that content for the students so that they can learn better and observe better through these visual pieces. The research looking at research in regards to media, talks about the dual channels of our processing. And cognitively, as we do have dual channels, one is looking at text and imagery, and the other one is using our audio channels, which is hearing things. And so, excuse me, so using media such as music, narratives, movie clips, bring those dual channels together, and they reinforce the knowledge that we're trying to impart to our students so that they can have a better learning experience, they can learn more, and they can remember and recall a greater level of the knowledge that they are engaged in, which is something that we all look for. And that leads to better success in the class, that leads to better success on evaluations, assessments, assignments, and so forth. And so without further ado, with those elements in mind, we're going to turn to what media we have to offer here at UNLV so that you can see the wonderful services that we have and maybe gather some ideas. And following the presentation by Brian and Darcy, we'll have some time for some questions as well. And so, Brian, I'm putting you in control here.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And can you see my desktop?
No, not yet, but if you want to go ahead and share your...
All right. Thanks, Chris. Today we're going to focus on several licensed video and image collections that provide convenient access to thousands of quality resources that are good to go for sharing in your online courses. So you don't need to worry about copyright or tracking down permissions from the rights holders. The resources in these collections are there for you to discover and utilize and, again, enhance your courses in the way that Chris was talking about. Once you know where to look, it's very straightforward to find, all kinds of good resources on all kinds of subjects. And in most cases, linking to them from your courses is very straightforward, very simple. There are a few things to consider when utilizing utilizing links, stable links from these licensed collections. And actually, Darcy will talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. It's not just a case of copying the URL from your browser's address bar in most cases. However, it's very simple to share those things, and again, we'll demonstrate that a little bit later. But first, a good place to start to get a better sense of what's available from the UNLV libraries is the All Library Databases page linked from the library's homepage. And that's exactly where we're going to start here. Okay, and so conveniently, you can see from the homepage that research, in addition to a lot of news about the library, research is front and center on the homepage. And under that research category, you can see all library databases. This is a very convenient tool for browsing these licensed databases and collections, looking at various offerings in all kinds of disciplines and subject areas, as well as looking at different types of media that are available from these collections. So obviously, we're not all about texts and books or even ebooks. We're also very much about this other type of media, videos, images, and so forth. So again, using this tool, I'm going to keep this on all subjects, but as you can see here in the database type, I can look at collections that cover lots of different subjects and that get at various types of materials within those subject areas. For example, videos. I'm going to click on that real briefly, and we will get to these to some of these resources a little bit later in the presentation. But you can see again, very simply using this particular all library databases page, you can get a much better sense of the collections that offer streaming videos, for example. But let's go back up to images, and we'll start with that example. And as you can see, in terms of the kinds of things we offer, there are quite a number of image databases and image collections. The first, and conveniently, is Art Store, which is kind of a misnomer. Art Store has millions, quite literally millions of images, again, available for you to discover and share with your students that cover more than just art and the humanities. The Art Store also covers things like architecture, sciences, the social sciences. It has very broad coverage in terms of its content. So let's take a look at that a little bit more closely here. We're actually on the welcome page, the splice page, and I'm just going to enter the digital library here so that we can actually start seeing what the Art Store has to offer. Now we're at a place where we can go ahead and search. Actually, we can also browse. You can see there are a number of places to get started, featured collections. You can browse by geography or classification. We'll do a real simple search and look and see how we can take just a very basic search that we do and apply some additional limiters on that search that get at particular aspects of, the kinds of images that we're going after. So, for example, in reading the local newspapers and websites, there is always something almost daily in the pages about new stadiums, new sports arenas being contemplated for Las Vegas. That seems to be a big subject right now, but let's, so that actually got me thinking about earlier kinds of sports venues and arenas. So I'm going to do a real quick search on Coliseum to see what's there. And again, this is maybe more in the realm of architecture, but you can see that we've got quite a few things listed here. And again, with ArtStore, you can narrow your search results. Going to cooperate with me. And again, as I mentioned on that page where I started my search, you can narrow by geography, by classification. You can, again, we started with a real simple search, but for instance, I'm going to narrow by geography first to Italy, get at that Colosseum that I'm thinking of, and then also in terms of classification, there are aspects of that Colosseum in Rome that might be of interest. Let's just choose the first one, architecture and city planning. And again, you can see how that's, that continues to limit the search that I did to hone in on those aspects that I'm interested in. Again, this is a huge database covering not just art, painting, sculpture, but it covers architecture, and as I mentioned, a lot of different disciplines and subject areas. I've already logged in, and this is going to be characteristic of all, pretty much all the collections that I'll be talking about today, and that is these databases and collections offer you the chance to register your own personal accounts within that particular database so that you can better manage what you find. So, for instance, if you register your own personal account using your UNLV email, and you'll supply a password, of course, you can you have ways of organizing and managing that content beyond simply exploring it without logging in. So, for example, I can choose images. I'm going to choose just a few at random, and for instance, I can save the selected images to an image group. I won't do, in the interest of time, I won't go through. I won't do that, but the ones that I've selected, I can save to a new image group, for my login, and then I can generate a URL for that group of things that I selected. Or if it's a single image that I want to share, I can go up and generate an image URL that then I can share, email it, share it within your class or whatever. Now, one thing that I will point out, in ArtStore, as well as some of the other collections that we'll be talking about, you may need to use something more with that URL that in order to make sure that any of your students or colleagues who are accessing that particular resource or those images or those streaming videos, you'll need to make sure that that goes through Easy Proxy. And so there may be some additional work that you'll need to do with that URL to make sure that that is usable by your colleagues and your students off campus as well as on campus. Darcy will go into a little bit of that later in the presentation. So anyway, the point being that, again, if you're interested in being able to save even searches that you've done before in the particular collection, create new folders, create new groups of resources, generate URLs to share with people, then you may be interested in registering within the database, within ArtStore, for example. So that is ArtStore, and we'll next we'll look at streaming media, streaming videos. Again, just to recap ArtStore, it has almost 2 million images covering all kinds of topics and subject areas. And again, you can register for a personal account for more sharing and saving options, and for more options in terms of managing that content. We have a guide to online movies and streaming video that's recently been updated. It is linked from the home page, but you can see the URL there. So we'll take a look at this particular page because it is a page that sort of brings together a lot of information about streaming video solutions, these collections, again, that provide thousands of streaming videos on all kinds of subjects, and again, that are good to go for your courses. So let's take a look at that page. This is me. I am the manager of this page, and on the welcome, the home page, you can see that on this particular page, it does go into the streaming video collections. Many of you, perhaps all of you, are already aware of Films on Demand, which we've had around UNLV for some time now, and is, again, a huge resource, a huge collection of high-quality streaming videos in all kinds of subject areas. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. With all of these collections, just like ArtStore, you can, I should say with most of them, Films on Demand, Kanopy, and Alexander Street Press, you can register, again, your own personal account to log in, keep track of the playlists that you create from these resources. You can create clips. If there's just a certain portion of that video that's meaningful that you want to share with your students, you can do that in these particular databases. And again, in order to better manage, organize all of these things that you're doing, you can, again, register that personal account, and that's a much better way to keep track of what you're doing within these resources. Something that is relatively new that I will focus on right now is Kanopy. You may be familiar with this. Previously, it was available on the library's website under the title Media Education Foundation. We have expanded that collection, and it's now called Kanopy. And this is, the expanded collection is new for us. And it provides, again, like Films on Demand, provides access to lots of high-quality content, and again, allows you to create playlists. A playlist would be, kind of like the equivalent of a folder of images. You've got a playlist of maybe multiple clips from films, or even multiple, the complete films playlist would be, kind of that grouping of related videos that you're trying to share or to keep track of. Let's take a quick look at Kanopy itself. Again, this particular, under this name, it's fairly new, and in terms of just what is offered, we've got access to, again, thousands of videos. This is the splash screen, of course. And you can see that they've got quite, they have their individual titles arranged into these collections. Sometimes they're based on a lot of times they're based on the source for the films, California Newsreel Collection, documentary educational resources, and so forth. It's a pretty simple interface. You can browse, of course, and again, just looking at the subjects that you can browse, you get an idea of the kind of breadth of coverage. I'm going to do a real simple search, again, on water management instead of again. And just going to click into this first title to give you an idea of what you get. Again, you can sign in, create your own personal account in order to keep track and manage the playlists or the clips that you're creating. Within Kanopy, though, it's not absolutely necessary to have your own personal account to create playlists or clips. Again, in the interest of time, I won't go through creating a whole playlist or a clip, but it does give you that option from the title. You just register your name, email, the title, click create, and then you can, during that process, you can look up multiple titles, and it's very easy to specify certain portions of the video that you want, create that clip, and get a stable URL that you can share. Again, if you don't necessarily want to share the entire film with your class, you can do clips, you can do playlists of clips. Another feature that I will touch on with Kanopy and that we are piloting this semester, Kanopy does have a service that is free to us that allows us to actually, we can request a streaming license search for titles that are not already in any of our existing collections, or that represent, say, DVDs in our collection for which we don't have streaming rights. If we're interested in videos outside of the online collections, as I said, we can send that title to Kanopy. They will do a search to see if streaming license can be secured for that. Now, the drawback there is that we can't guarantee any kind of turnaround time. So if you're interested in a video that's not already in one of our license collections, or something, in a physical medium like a DVD that we don't already have streaming rights for, and you want to share it in your WebCampus course, you need to make sure you get that into us so that we can, have enough time to research that and see if we can actually get the streaming rights. The other thing, if we can secure the streaming rights, and again, there are no guarantees on any particular title, Kanopy is also has a service where we can provide a digital copy, and they will host it for us. So it's not only searching for that streaming license, but it also, if we can secure it, we can use Kanopy to provide the platform to stream that particular title for your class. Again, no guarantees on any particular titles, and you need to give us a fair amount of time to see if to investigate. So, but that is a service that Kanopy provides. I'm going to go back to the online movies and streaming video page and talk a little bit about another new service that we're also piloting this semester called Swank. Digital Campus. And I'm going to click on this particular tab here. Swank Digital Campus is a service to UNLV now. We have a relationship with them to license popular feature films for educational use. This is an on-demand service, so and they have a pretty good catalog of feature films that we can license through Swank for you to use in your course. And from my online movies page on that Swank tab, you can either browse their collection or do a search, and see what they have. They don't have everything. There are certain distributors that they have not been able to work up licensing with, but they represent a huge catalog of feature films. And I know these are a lot of you are interested in using feature films for educational use. I'm just going to do a quick search, and this is kind of indicative of what we already have running this semester. You can see doing the title search on Hamlet, and you can see that the Swank service does have quite a few varieties of Hamlet, including Olivier's and even Mel Gibson's version from 1990. So again, this is a on-demand service. I encourage you to go to that online movies page, click on one of those links to browse or search, see what they have to offer, and then if you're interested in anything, you can email us with the email link here. Again, this is the Feature Films for Courses tab here on the online movies page. And you just email us with the titles that you're interested in, the dates by which you need them. And Swank does have several licensing options. So if you just need it for a semester, we can license it for the semester. If you need it for maybe even a whole academic year, you're going to be teaching from this particular video. You know, you've got a couple of classes, a fall and spring class. You're going to be using that video. We can license that for the whole academic year as well. So we do have options. So that is something else that we've been piloting and already have quite a few, actually more than a dozen titles now that we've licensed for course use. And so that's been already it's starting to become popular. So again, we have these services. However, you know, if you've got a title that is not already in one of those existing license collections, we can investigate it to see if we can stream it and host it on something like Kanopy. But again, the turnaround time, we can't guarantee it. It will take time to investigate and to see. And usually that's the bulk of the time involved, is just investigating whether or not we can get streaming rights. If we can, then it's pretty straightforward, and we would use Kanopy to host that particular streaming title. And then, of course, we would supply you with the stable URL that you would use in your course. As far as streaming video is concerned, I've showed you just, you know, I've showed you Kanopy. Of course, there's Films on Demand. There are others that you can, you know, you can go into those particular databases and browse. If you want to keep it a little bit simpler, you can go through the catalog to search that way. And so, for instance, you can do a keyword catalog search with the term streaming video in quotes, and whatever else interests you. I'm going to go back a slide here for a moment. Go back to my online movies page, and you can see that there is a demonstration of how that works in the catalog. If you want to keep it simple, there are the records in the catalog for most, not exactly all of the titles that are in our streaming video collections, but most of those titles have records in the catalog, so that you can do a very targeted search, a targeted keyword search for streaming video, and again, enclose that term in quotes. And in this example, we'll keep with the water example, and we're going to look for streaming video and water conservation. I'm just going to click go. And you can see that there are almost a dozen that are all indicated as being videos, and in this case, when you see internet access, that means that it's a streaming video. And you can see that we've got titles from a number of these collections that I've been talking about, from Kanopy, Films Media Group, and Bullfrog Films. This one has a little thumbnail that looks interesting. I'm just going to click on the record here. And again, this is the full record for this particular streaming video, Chasing Water. Click here to view the film. Now, if you want to share this film in your WebCampus course, very simple. Again, keep it simple. Right-click where you see View Film or View Streaming Video. That may also be the link label. Copy your link location. And I'm not sure if you can see it down in the bottom left corner of the screen, but these, obviously, any of these URLs that you find from a keyword search like this in the catalog, they will be automatically formatted so that they will be shareable with, again, your students and your colleagues, shareable anywhere that, anywhere that student is, be they on or off campus, they'll be able to get to that through easy proxy. So that's a very simple way, again, using the catalog. Combine the term streaming video with a subject word or subject term, and just browse and see what's available to you. Very simple. Right-click and copy. Whoops, I went a little too far. Now I'm going to turn it over to Darcy, who is going to talk about resources, other resources from our branch library.
Brian mentioned many sources that we have available from Lead Library, but our branches also have additional media resources. For instance, at Music, you can get sound recordings, many of which can be digitized and added to classes depending upon our rights. And here you can see some of our new sound recording scores and music at the Music Library. Over at the Curriculum Materials Library, they have an e-media collection for juvenile resources. And so here you can see some of the newest books in that collection. You do have to set up an account, but then you're able to download either the audiobook or the ebook for a certain amount of time. Do note that there are restrictions on the number of access at one time, so not everyone in your class would be able to use it at once. And then over at the Architecture Studies Library, they have a really unique Pinterest account that has all sorts of different resources available. It has library resources, UNLV resources, building sustainability, all sorts of topics to explore. It includes a lot of images, architectural drawings, and even just our new books list. So those are all other items that you may want to consider adding to your courses. Once you actually find something that you want to use, you need to be able to put that into your class. Unfortunately, because our materials are restricted to our students, faculty, and staff, you do need to create special links to have permanent access. And the way we do that here is by the use of Easy Proxy. Unfortunately, because all of our resources come from different vendors, there's not one way that you can do this. However, we have tried to make this easier by creating a toolkit that you can use to help you set up these different links. And something else to remember is that when you share your link, you should request that it open in a new window when you're in WebCampus. So we'll go over to the toolkit. You can see here there's a lot of different resources that we provide information on. The first place you should go is the proxy link generator. If you have a link that does not have the Easy Proxy set up, you can use this link generator to do it automatically for you. However, there are some restrictions. If you take a look up here in your URL bar and you see that it includes the word Easy Proxy already, it's not going to work. And grabbing that and pasting it in is probably also not going to work. So for those, there are other parts of the toolkit you can go to learn how to set up the links. If it has HTTPS up there, as you can see here, instead of HTTP, that also will not work with the proxy link generator. So you won't want to use it. You'll want to go to the other instructions for setting up links. So if we go back to the toolkit, you can see that there are individual instructions on ebooks and streaming media and also on journal articles. If we click over to streaming media, it's going to give you the directions that Brian mentioned already, which is using our catalog. That's the easiest way to do it, and it's pretty fail-proof. You just copy that link right there, paste it in to your WebCampus. However, if you do want to do something like use a segment instead of the entire film, you will have to create a link from within your collection. So here we're in Films on Demand. If we go into an actual video, we'll see the segments here on the side. We just select one and then you scroll down and you copy that URL, and that one is what will work when off campus. Articles work very similarly. Some of them have permanent URLs that you can just copy and paste. Others you do have to do a little bit of work, and you can find directions for that in our toolkit. So if you go under articles, you will see directions for most of our commonly used databases. If you don't see directions or if you're having problems, there is information on all of these pages of where you can go to get help. Your library faculty liaison can help you, or you can contact me or Brian directly as well, and we can get you set up with a link that will work. It takes a little bit of time, but that will ensure that your students can get to these items from off campus. You also may want to check, because sometimes it will look like you have the correct link, but there may be an extra space in there, or for some reason it just didn't work out. So it's always a good idea from when you're off campus to check those links and make sure that they work.
Great. Well, Brian, rather than put it back into my control, can you go to the next slide on the PowerPoint for me? Next, it's one more. And it's just in conclusion, first, before we actually close, I'd like to say thank you so much for Darcy and Brian for joining us, because it's so helpful to find out what kind of resources they have, because a lot of people, myself included, are just recently learning and still don't know what we have available at the UNLV library system. Before we do close, can I open the floor for any questions? Does anybody have a question that they would like to ask? Your mics are open, so you can jump right in there and ask anything you need. No, it looks like we're good. But again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. We are going to archive this. We're recording it. We are going to archive it so that you can watch it again if you forget some information. Brian, if there's questions, what's the best way to reach you and Darcy?
Our contact information is there. Of course, we also on the library's website, you have the staff directory for our phone numbers and emails. And again, I would encourage people who are specifically interested in streaming video to visit the online movies page. And there is contact information on there, as well as that link to email us if you're interested in the SWANK feature film service.
Great. Before we close, could you go to the last slide that has our survey? We would really enjoy your feedback about everything presented today and about the webinar. If you can click on that link and fill out the survey, Online Education would really appreciate it. And again, thank you for joining us. And with that, we will conclude today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.